Let's go to line number one and say hello to the Mayor of the City of Corner Brook, Neville Greeley. Hello, Mayor Greeley, you're on the air.
Good afternoon, Paddy.
Good afternoon to you, my friend. And so you've heard from one of your citizens, in particular this show and others in shows past, regarding the mining operation in the watershed. Is that what you're calling about today, sir?
Well, there is no mining operation in the watershed.
And there's
no mining operation proposed in the watershed.
So what's the issue? What are they speaking about?
The application that's currently before council is an application to do mineral exploration. And the council back in, I believe it was 2002, 2003, granted approval in principle, subject to Thomas Resources at the time, now Thomas Resources Pennycon, getting approval from all other line departments and government agencies with responsibility and authority over mineral exploration and mining. So where we are today is, hello?
I'm listening, sir.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I've got it. With regard to the current application that's before council, Thomas Resources has gone in. They've received several permits from the city of Corner Brook to date. The latest of which was they went in and did some trenching and removed some bulk samples, and now they're looking to go in and find out what the actual depth and quantity, I guess, of the ore that's they've discovered there, and that's the application that's currently before council. Now, it's interesting to note that application that's currently before council has resources and all the other line agencies involved in government that has the authority over that type of thing. So wildlife has looked at this, health has looked at it, environment's looked at it, and mines and energy has looked at it, and all those agencies and departments have signed off on it. So it's now before council to whether or not it's going to give the go-ahead to do the mineral exploration.
So just one question. They signed off on it as so far as the exploratory piece goes, not necessarily production though, right?
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, production, if Thomas Resources discover a significant quantity of ore there, such that they want to put in an application to do a quarry or mine, depending on what definition you use. But if they want to do that goes through a much more rigorous assessment process. They'd have to get past the Department of Environment, the Minister of the Department of Environment, and all the other agencies involved as well. So the application that's currently before council is to go in and drill 21 holes in, I believe, 9 different locations in an area that they've delineated for the province and for the city. Now, all the different guidelines and buffers and everything that the city of Corner Brook and indeed the province of Newfoundland and Labrador have in place, Thomas Resources Pennycon far exceed every one of the buffers and the criteria that's involved.
So now people automatically, though, Mayor Greeley, they will say, if we are going to allow people to go in, just one moment. Excuse me, if we're allowing people to go in and explore, then it just doesn't stand to reason. I'm just echoing what someone else is saying to me. Then it stands to reason that production can't be far behind. And when questions are asked, and if someone says people are dodging the issue, then that just gives them the further heightened perception that the production is only a matter of time rather than assessment. How do you respond to that?
And that's factually incorrect.
Okay.
The Thomas Resources Pennycon, if they discover enough ore in there, they will go through an environmental assessment process. And in that environmental assessment process, they would have to identify any risks to the Corner Brooks watershed. If, in fact, those risks can be mitigated, they would have to determine what the costs of mitigating those risks are, if, in fact, they're prepared to take on those costs. And if some of the risks can't be mitigated, well, then that's something that they would have to look at as well, and certainly the province and the city would certainly look at that and say, look, if these risks are too great and you can't mitigate them, well, then you're not going in there. If they look at it and say, there's a viable project here with, these number of risks, and here's what we're prepared to do to... That's something that's way down the road. I mean, we've got to be basing decisions on fact, and the facts that are before council today is they want to go in and drill 21 holes in 9 different locations, which is a less intensive intervention in the watershed than what they've already been given permission to do. So everybody else out there who says they can't get answers, they're not asking the questions that they want answered.
Mayor Greeley, when it comes to the final approvals, though, what have you, when we talk about production, when the Department of Natural Resources and other groups who are responsible for the process and the regulations so far as assessments go, and then the final say, I would have thought, whether or not they will allow production, what role does council actually play? How much authority do you have?
Well, at the end of the day, council has final authority, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
The province can give permission to go in there, and council can turn around and say, no, we don't want you to go in there. But again, you know, in an area of the province that's not really seeing the boom from the East Coast, the oil money and all that stuff. Now we're getting our share of the provincial infrastructure money, but that's not what I'm talking about. You know, we've lost in Corner Brook, we've lost Lafarge Gypsum, we've lost the cement plant, we've lost Newfoundland Farm Products. You know, there's been fish bank closures in the area, and you know all the resource industries that we've had on the West Coast. But the only couple remaining there's a couple of fish plants left in the Bay of Islands, and there's the Corner Brook Pulp and Paper. And this is an opportunity for the city of Corner Brook to do its homework along with the province to make sure that if there is a potential there, to maximize that potential for the benefit of the citizens of Corner Brook. Nobody, the provincial government, the council of the city of Corner Brook, nobody's interested in allowing a company to go into the watershed with a risk of contaminating the water. I mean, the provincial government is in with the city of Corner Brook to the tune of $12 million, along with the federal government, $12 million on a new water treatment plant. Mm-hmm. There's no way in the world they're going to approve for an operation to go in our watershed that's going to negatively impact our water, and then have to turn around and pony up to the plate for another 70% or whatever of the cost of cleaning that up. That's not going to happen. And what's going on in the city today is you've got people who are throwing out Walkerton as an example. I mean, this case is nowhere remotely close to what happened in Walkerton. To understand is this is a process that's thoroughly evaluated every step along the way. We're not at the stage right now of approving a mine or a quarry. We're nowhere close to that. Thomas Resources Pennycom may go in there and drill down and find that the ore only goes down 10 or 15 meters. Case closed. There is no viable quantity of mineral in there, so there's no need for them to come forward with another application.
So is the benchmark here someone has to prove to you that the potential jeopardy for the watershed is non-existent before you would have final approval granted by council, or how does that balance in your mind? Because it's a tricky one. When we talk about the environment, and there's only one chance to do it right or wrong, and then you balance it against the need to create jobs and the wealth that goes with it, it is people being put in a very tricky spot, especially municipal leaders, when we're trying to rely on science and permits and whatnot to come from other authorities. How do you actually do the math in your mind? Because you must feel the pressure about jobs and always the storm every season about the mill and its future. So how do you approach that?
Well, I think what you do is you put a process in place and you follow the process. And right now we're not at that stage. We're not at the stage of approving anything other than 21 holes in 9 different locations. And if, and that's a big if, and when Thomas Resources Pennycom get to the stage of coming forward with an application, they would have to show in their application, for example, this mine as a life of 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, will produce 100,000 tons a year, 200,000 tons a year, 300,000 tons a year. I mean, that's all information that people want answers to now, but you can't get those answers until Thomas Resources Pennycom are able to do the exploration. And you can't identify what the risks are without knowing what the potential is. And certainly if the potential is not outweighed by the risks, well then, that's something that the city would have to look at along with the problems in a future stage. But right now, the application that's before council is an application to drill 21 holes in 9 different locations, which is less intensive than permits that they've already been given approval for.
Mayor Greeley, we will indeed follow this. There's an awful lot of people in your area, not just inside the city of Corner Brook, but in the region, who are keeping an eye on it. The attention to the environment now is, I would suggest, heightened because of the fracking potential. And now with this one on top of it, and pollution and contaminants in Port-au-Port Bay, we're starting to have a fairly vigorous conversation regarding the environment and the environment in Western Newfoundland. I appreciate your time today. Go ahead, sir.
This application is nowhere remotely close to fracking. I haven't done any research.
No, I'm just talking about the concept of the environment and protection thereof, as has really had a new level of attitude in Western Newfoundland, given all of those public conversations all at the same time. Yes. That's my point.
And that's a very good point. But, in this particular case, we've got a couple of groups that have come out, and, there are people who are environmentalists, that are strong environmentalists, that are against cutting down a tree, they're against catching a fish, they're against turning over a stone. And, that opinion is valid, and you have to respect it. However, the obligation of council is to look at what is in the best overall long-term interests of the citizens that they represent. And the application that's currently before council, Thomas Resources Pennycon came to Corner Brook. They did an information session. Now, some people didn't like the format of the information session, but guess what? I would argue that most of the people that had a problem with that format had a problem with the process anyway. So, they came. They weren't obligated to come. They came. They did an information session. They showed exactly what it was that they were intending to do, and they were available to answer any questions that anybody had for them. Whether or not people chose to avail of that, that's their own prerogative. But to say that Thomas Resources, Pennycon, and the City of Corner Brook or anybody else has been trying to hide anything here is absolutely false. It's misleading, and the matter that's before council is an application to go in and do mineral exploration. It's not an application for a mine. It's not an application for a quarry. It's an application to go in and drill 21 holes in 9 different locations, which again, and I'll repeat it for the last time, is less intensive than what they've already been given approval for. And if this application was going to in any way endanger the water supply for the city of Corner Brook, you can bet your bottom dollar that the Department of Environment, Department of Health, Department of Natural Resources, with the provincial government would have said no, absolutely not. But they haven't done that. They've given it their approval, and I think it's incumbent upon the councillors of the city of Corner Brook to do the same.
I appreciate your time today, Mayor Greeley. We'll keep a close eye on the story and all of the environmental and, of course, all the other issues that are facing Corner Brook and surrounding area in the future. I look forward to speaking with you again.
Not a problem.
All the best.
Thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mayor Neville Greeley, the mayor of the city of Corner Brook. The questions were asked, answers were offered. You, as the listener, you accept what the mayor says. If you don't, if there's a point in there where you think something has been misrepresented or not the entire story told so far as you see it, all you have to do is get on the phone and give us a call. Your opinion is welcomed, of course.